Give us free. Give us free.
Your Honor, please instruct the defendant that he cannot disrupt these proceedings with such outbursts.
Give us free.
If we are to have any semblance of order in this court,
Give us free.
Peace, unity, and welcome my conscious and unconscious family and friends. This is the all-new Black Village Community Podcast, and I am truly your host of the show, JC, aka Afro Black, dropping nothing but the raw and uncut. Without any fear, as I use my mic as a spear to chucker you with liberated truth. I am your host and your native soldier in the struggle. My purpose and mission for this show is first to enlighten, inform, and engage. And I want to engage with all who claim to know the truth. All truth seekers and my native family, I welcome you. This show is dedicated to all our indigenous native ancestors and to all those who've carried the mantle of truth, and to every person with the ability to throw off the chains of comfortable habit and unwarranted assumption and move in a new, liberated direction that is guided by truth and observational evidence, no matter where that direction may lead you. My main objective and purpose here is freedom, mind, soul, and spirit. That being said, welcome to the Black Village Community Podcast, and much love from our great universal goddess and mother of all living here and above.
AC in the house.
Black man, drop top. They go to cops. They go to cops. They go to cops. Is it because of my people? Is it because of my sneakers? Is it because of my jersey? Is it because of them perfect? Live from the cracks of the concrete. 12 try to take a nigga off the street. Let the gun sound off of Mike Brown. Take a nigga light when you fade down. Hoodie gang strong like Trayvon. Gun by the window like Detroit Red. Bring that shit round the neck of my wood, and I bet a nigga ass end up dead. Pig in the blanket, fuck what you think? Free that nigga Bossy, running at the police. Left him with a slow leaf, right inside BC. Trying to keep running like DC. Hating out the G like freak me. Kill a nigga reaching for a cell phone. Hurt to tell him mama he ain't coming home. But when I stand strapped all summer long. You know it. Black man, drop top. They go to cops. They go to cops. They go to cops. Is it because of my people? Is it because of my sneakers? Is it because of my jersey? Is it because that you nervous? Damn.
Hey, this is JC, aka Afro Black, and I am here with you for another delicious Black Sunday. And today's podcast subject matter is a continuation of last week's podcast subject matter, which is titled Cricket Cops, Black Ops, and Police Brutality, a badge of honor without accountability. Again, Cricket Cops, Black Ops, and Police Brutality, a badge of honor without accountability. And so today's podcast subject is a continuation of, I continued this subject matter because I had more information I wanted to share, more things I wanted to talk about, more things I wanted to reverberate on. And I'm not here. I'm not alone. I got my queen with me. She's here joining me today this Sunday. You know, she's tired. She's been at work all day. She's a hard-working black woman doing what she got to do to take care of her family. And she's mic'd up today, so she's sounding much better. Queen, are you there?
Hello, my beautiful people.
And so, before we go any further, let me play some music in the backdrop so we can verbiage to something that we can communicate on, something a little bit more laid back, as I always do. Yeah, there we go right there. Tupac, Black Cotton, you feel me? So, today I want to continue our verbiage and our, talking about police accountability. The reason why I want to share this because, while we still got a house Negro in the White House who thinks like a white man, we still got cops shooting unarmed black people. We still got cops who are unrepentant, no remorse, no compassion. I can't say all cops, but I would say, from my opinion, from my conscious opinion, the majority of police officers are uncompassionate and unrepentant. Even when shooting an unarmed black woman, black man, child, it appears they don't give a damn. Am I wrong, Queen?
No, not at all.
And so, this is the reason why I want to continue to talk about this subject matter, And so on that note, I got some audio casts I want to play. Last week I didn't get a chance to read any. I didn't get a chance to read any of our listings. Some listings, some news clippings, and also some basically some information showing that. I'm raising the question. I'm pretty sure a lot of conscious brothers and sisters knew that cops wearing cams or video cams was not going to change anything. Some departments, they love it. I noticed that spokespeople who speak for the police department love to point out statistics in areas where things do show some benefit. And for the most part, these are urban, middle-class neighborhoods where really there's no activity going on anyway. So they're basically manipulating the public by talking about police departments where violence have went down in areas where cops are wearing cams, and in those areas, a whole lot less violence or forced restraint by police officers. Those forced encounters have went down, and people filing reports against cops have went down. When they talk about stuff like that, they basically are talking about in neighborhoods and areas where there isn't a whole lot of violence and crime going on, or not as much as violence and crime as much as police violence and crime. Something that you don't hear people really mentioning when it comes to police officers. When you say police violence and crime, I'm saying not just police violence. I'm saying crime, because that's a crime against the public and a crime against humanity when cops are breaking the very laws that they were vowed in to uphold. What do you have to say about this, Queen?
I have to agree with what you're saying. They are committing crimes and getting away with it because they have that badge, as if they live above the law. There's no accountability. There's no reprimandation, really. It's just a cycle that's put back into the system.
Totally true. We agree on that level. It's very obvious. It's very prevalent. It's very obvious. You have to be a dumb-minded, modern-day house Negro. Like there's a whole lot of them out there that are supporting the police department. Like just recently I hear Floyd Mayweather make some dumb statements, which surprised me due to the fact that he didn't grow up a rich man. But now that he got money and riches, he's turned into a house Negro for some reason. But I got to give it up for people like T.I., brother T.I. from, that brother, man, standing up, speaking the truth. He's not allowing his money, he's not allowing his fame, he's not allowing his fortune, he's not allowing his position as an actor/rapper to cause him to sit down like a nice good old house Negro, like a lot of them house Negroes in Hollywood do. So I got to give it up to brother T.I. Much love, much respect to that brother. Now, to get into some of this information, last week we talked about, I played audio cast from a show that's on Comedy Central titled Last Week with John Oliver. And John Oliver, his show, he talks a lot about police accountability. He talks a lot about police activity and their behavior and what they be doing. And so that's the reason why I played it. Now, somebody might say, you put it for Comedy Central, you can't take them serious. No, the Daily Show with Jon Stewart, when he was on, he talked about real politics, real things. Yes, he did it from a comedic perspective, but the truth in his comedy, the truth within his show was real. You feel me? And so it's the same. It's no different than John Oliver's show. John Oliver is speaking the real. You feel me? And so I played a track from John Oliver's show where he was talking about police accountability. I played 2 tracks from his show that I edited. So I let everybody know all the audio that I play on my show is edited for time consumption and also for the purpose of my show, to meet the needs and the objectives of the agenda and on the topic on which we're talking about. So let everybody know all the audio that I play on my show is edited for my show. So on that note, I wanted to continue to talk. I had another piece that I wanted to play from the John Oliver show to get us back on the subject matter on which we're talking about, which is police accountability. And I also have something to read. So before I read anything, let me play this piece, which is a continuation from last week, subject matter, where I played John Oliver. And so this is a continuation from that audio cast. It's another piece from that same show, that same audio cast I played last week. And we shall continue from there.
And deleting records is not an officer's only option to escape their past. Sometimes, after an incident, they'll simply resign and move to another police department. This happens so much, people in law enforcement call them gypsy cops. In South Carolina, a TV station looked into one officer who'd spent a total of 9 years on the job, working for 9 different departments, 3 of them in just 1 year. And in one case, he left in spectacular fashion.
Deputies believed Yarborough's driving ability was compromised, and they said they discovered a half-empty bottle of rye whiskey and a baggie of assorted pills in his patrol cruiser. According to the state records, Yarborough said, "I'm not taking no drug test. I guess I'll resign."
Holy shit! "I'm not taking no drug test, I guess I'll resign" is a sentence you do not want to hear from a police officer. It's barely appropriate coming from a roadie leaving Aerosmith. And gypsy cops have been involved in tragic incidents. In the Tamir Rice case, the officer who shot the 12-year-old had been in the process of being fired from his previous job before resigning. But the Cleveland police missed that red flag when hiring him because they didn't read his personnel file, which detailed an incident during weapons training where he had a dangerous loss of composure, leading his supervisor to conclude, "I do not believe time nor training will be able to change or correct these deficiencies." That is the kind of performance review that should keep you from getting hired at Staples, let alone a job where you're given a fucking gun. That cop, by the way, was never even charged. Like many such cases, his never made it past the grand jury, which seems inherently surprising until you realise local prosecutors and cops have to work together all the time, which can get very complicated.
As a former prosecutor, I can tell you, you work with the police, you rely upon the police, you trust the police are in your office reviewing evidence, examining evidence, preparing for trial, and then have to turn around and prosecute them to prosecute you?
Exactly. For a prosecutor to go after a cop they work with is incredibly awkward. I can't think of anything more inherently awkward. And even when cases go to trial, officers have a major advantage, which is that juries tend to have a natural predisposition to trust them.
Police officers truly get a presumption of innocence, whereas most criminal defendants don't come in with any presumption of innocence. You're swimming upstream. Usually a judge will toss the case at a preliminary hearing, or a grand jury will refuse to indict, so you never even get to trial. And jurors just do not come in with any belief whatsoever that officers can commit a crime. They just don't.
It's true. Many people see a police uniform and automatically think trustworthy. And under the law, the police generally have a certain amount of leeway regarding lethal force, meaning that fatal shootings can be considered legal even if they are unnecessary or disproportional. There is even a shorthand for such cases. It's lawful but awful. And on top of all this, Officers can bring in expert witnesses who can present nearly any situation as a potential threat. Take Dr. Bill Lewinsky, who runs something called the Force Science Institute. For years, he has testified on behalf of police officers. Here he is providing a rationale for why it may be okay to shoot someone that has a knife.
Knives can actually be more dangerous than a gun. They don't have to be reloaded. They can be used at close distance. And we know that a stab from a knife, or a stab or a cut, can be extremely quick.
Hey, come on. But there is no doubt a knife is a dangerous weapon. But what if someone doesn't have a knife? Dr. Lewinsky, could force still be necessary when someone is unarmed?
First of all, it's significant to know that unarmed does not mean they're not dangerous. In fact, the fist may have been the very first weapon that human beings used against each other. In fact, I've measured strikes on human beings by other humans, and the strikes can occur at a speed of 4, 5, or 6 strikes in a second, and some of them really hard.
What is he talking about? Look, defendants are allowed to call expert witnesses, of course. What is weird is Lewinsky has appeared before grand juries, which is where prosecutors are supposed to present their best unchallenged case for an officer's indictment. So why would they let Lewinsky in there? They're essentially shooting their own case in the foot, which is presumably justified because feet were the second weapon ever invented.
There you go. Yeah, right there. That is an excerpt in a piece that I took from last week with John Oliver. As you notice, he's talking about police accountability. I mean, he starts off with talking about a cop who was caught with liquor and pills, drugs. Basically, forget calling it pills. Let's call it as what they do when they want to demonize the public. The cop had drugs in his car. The cop was using drugs. Very obvious, because when they talked about giving the cop a drug test, I'm not taking no drug test. I'll resign. And look how quickly he used the word resign. Well, John Oliver covered why that word and why cops are so easily to resign. Because all they do is go work for another department somewhere else. He said they call them gypsy cops. Gypsy cops. They basically just cop hop. I'm going to call it that's a new word, cop hop. They cop hopping. They just hop from one place to another. You caught that right, Queen? He called them gypsy cops, Queen. They call it gypsy cops.
Well, I'm sorry he insulted the gypsies, but calling them nomadic cops probably.
I like that one. They nomadic cops. Exactly. That's exactly what they are. They nomadic cops. You know, they go wherever they want to go. And you know what? When you think about it, being a police officer is better than being a politician. The only thing is that politicians get paid better. Am I wrong, Queen? That's what it looks like to me.
Well, they both living above the law.
Exactly. That's the bottom line, and that's exactly what I'm trying to convey. They both live above the law, basically do what they want to do. And a cop has a better position because he's an outlaw, an assassin, and a killer all in one. And they don't get prosecuted for the very laws that they expect everybody else to live by. They go above and below. So, I just wanted to point out that, that was a continuation from last week's show. John Oliver was straight pointing out how police officers don't have accountability. They're not held to a standard of accountability. Whenever a cop can drive around with alcohol and drugs in his car, and then when they talk about giving him a drug test, he refuses to take the drug test, and they say, well, I guess I'll just resign, because he know he can cop hop. He know he can just go nomadic and go to the next police department. Same thing as he pointed out in the Tamir Rice case. That cop was cop hopping. He was a gypsy cop. Not only was he a gypsy cop, he was going from department to department. It was in his record already that he was not a credible, he was not a responsible, he was not a professional officer. He should even have the uniform on. But obvious, and we both know, this is something that a lot of black folks don't talk enough about. Politicians don't talk about it. And it's not in the public eye like it should. White folks play the network game. They play the network game. They basically network for each other. They got each other's backs. It's almost like, go ahead, Queen.
It's all about who you know.
Yeah, bottom line. That's what it is. It's about who you know. And, and it's just they control everything. And since they control all the resources, since they hold all the positions in the essence of administrative and supervisor and management positions and predominantly in every career-based aspect in this country, they calling all the shots, and they know that. They obviously know that, and they have each other's backs covered. That's why a cop can cop hop. That's why a cop can be called a gypsy cop and go from one department to the next, yet he has a whole repertoire or resume of being a corrupt officer, and nobody questioned it. And the only person who knows what's in his record is him and his supervising officer. And what cracks me up is a lot of these officers play, these administrative police officers play stupid. I didn't know. Well, how you gonna hire somebody and not know who the hell you hiring? Oh, because he has a white face. That has to be. I mean, what else could it be? You know, John is a good guy. You know, John, very professional in his interview. You got the job, John. John is a serial killing, post-traumatic stress. Did 4 tours and he's just off the rocker. And then you done put him behind a badge and gave him a gun. It shows how irresponsible police administration is, in my opinion. So, on that note, I can go deeper with this situation here, but like I say, this podcast topic is about police accountability. And see, the people who suffer behind the lack of police accountability happen to be black and brown people, happen to be native people of North America, happen to be the children of the indigenous people of North America, which is black folks who don't even know who they are, because we run around calling ourselves everything but who we really are. And what we mostly call ourselves, we're calling ourselves 2 continents that don't make sense. African American. I'm not African American. I am American, but I'm not an African. I'm not from Africa. So, on that note, I want to read from an article that I thought was important. And this article is titled, it's by the BBC News. And we know the BBC News is more credible than a lot of news in the U.S. Police accountability, why body cam footage is not always released. That's the title of this article by the BBC News. You got it, Queen?
Yes, I do.
Could you read that there for me, please?
Let's see. Article starts off. It says, in North Carolina, a black man is shot by police. According to his daughter, he was unarmed and reading a book. The police say he was armed and refused to drop his gun. Police released body cam and dash cam footage days after the incident following calls from activists and politicians. How many U.S. police departments use body cameras? As of August this year, 42 of the 68 quote-unquote major city police departments in the U.S. have body-worn camera programs with policies in place, according to the activist group Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights. Following the police killing of teenager Michael Brown and the ensuing riots in Ferguson, Missouri, in August 2014, the U.S. Justice Department pledged $20 million of funding and grants for police forces to buy as many as 50,000 cameras across the nation. The Leadership Conference points out accountability does not automatically follow. Whether these cameras make police more accountable or simply intensify police surveillance in communities depends on how the cameras and footage are used. Has Obama been able to change anything since Ferguson? So what is the policy? And is it the same across the United States? No. At the moment, there is no standardized national approach to dealing with the increased volume of police footage. There is a patchwork of practices across the country, with many police departments failing to have clearly formulated policies. For example, not all police forces have a set of rules about when officers must record, whether they need to provide justification for failure to record, and whether individuals filing police misconduct complaints have full access to all footage. The Leadership Conference have produced a rate card showing how well each department is using body cameras, is doing in a number of civil rights areas, with some coming out better than others. The Police Department of Charlotte, Mecklenburg does have a police policy, but does not perform well in all areas of the rate card. Are policies obliged to release body cam? Are police obliged to release body cam or dash cam footage? No. Although Brentley Vincent, the officer who shot Keith Lamont Scott, was in plain clothes and had no camera on him, 3 other officers did have theirs on. Police department policies, where they exist, tend to specify all footage from the body cam are the property of the police department in question and may not be released without the specific authorization of superintendent. Some states have even passed laws making body cam footage exempt from freedom of information.
Let me let you stop right there, Queen. I appreciate what you read. But I'm tripping off. I mean, the whole time you reading, I'm like, whoa. I'm like, whoa. I mean, the federal, I mean, what kind of game is this? Look at the game that these people play with the populace. These politicians. I'm going to call it as the devils. The devils. All of them. How in the hell does it make sense? The people who are supposed to be the highest authority in the land when it comes to police enforcement, the DOJ, the Department of Justice, are the ones who required police officers, or at least asked. They didn't require. Let me get that straight, because the DOJ don't have any control over local law enforcement nowhere in the U.S. So they asked, and they encouraged police departments to wear video cams for the purpose of the safety, not only of the public, but of police officers as well. And with no procedures, no process, no regulations, how in the hell does that make sense? Basically, a police officer can wear a body camera, and if his department doesn't have any policies, and then from what we just read, most of them don't. Very few do. He can turn his camera on and off as he will. Yeah.
Well, not only that, I mean, you've got places where they just straight up said, we don't have to release it, and it's exempt for the Freedom of Information Act. So there should be a set policy across the board. Period. I mean, the body cameras were meant to make people feel more comfortable and more safe, knowing that police are being now held more accountable because they are being filmed. But the police department having jurisdiction over their own body cameras and the footage that's withheld on it, that's not evening anything out.
Well, I don't think it's the point. I mean, the whole point of body cameras were not to even anything out as much as to give credibility and accountability to officers' activity and professional behavior.
But there's no difference because they're not being able to prove their activities and behavior because they don't have to show it. They don't have to release it.
And well, not only that, and also it's been known in some cases now that they're already finding out that some video footages are being manipulated.
Yeah, they edit it. They cut the cameras on and off when they please.
Wow. So, you know what? I'm gonna let you finish reading because this is another part of this that I think is very important. It says, why should police not release footage? Read that part, please.
Red tape. Some police departments have strict guidelines on who can view the material, and the decision to release footage may need to pass some bureaucratic hurdles. It is not conclusive. Different interpretations can be put on something seen from different angles. Even if the evidence shows the victim did have a weapon, police might worry that it provides ammunition for those who do not trust the police. For example, if the camera was switched on halfway through the operation, some people might say the police were hiding what happened before the switch. Legal reasons. Judges may block it because it could prejudice future trials, or prosecutors could try to prevent it because it could taint a potential jury pool. There are privacy concerns for bystanders who may have been recorded inadvertently. It proves the police wrong. Perhaps the police account is not supported by the video evidence, as in the case of Raquan McDonald, a black 17-year-old who was shot 16 times by a white Chicago officer. The police department fought the public release of the footage for more than a year. The officer was charged with murder on the day the footage was released. The body camera was not switched on at the time. There are many cases where no footage is available. Between September 15th and May this year, 3 out of 4 fatal Charlotte Mecklenburg police shootings were not reported, according to the Mecklenburg Observer. Across the country, police forces are finding it harder to fund body cams for all officers. The body camera does not show the incident. Most people remember the killing of Alton Sterling of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, in July from mobile phone footage reported by bystanders. Police footage is unlikely to be released even after the investigation is completed because body cameras worn by both officers allegedly fell off during the incident.
Wow. Again, no accountability. No accountability. They don't, can somebody help me comprehend why? Why are these officers why was they even allowed? The first thing that police departments and police administrative and also district councilmen of local departments or district council people were complaining about was the money. Where's the money going to come from? Where's the money going to come from? Well, the DOJ gave all this money out to supply police departments with cameras. For what reason? Why? There's no regulations. There's no procedures. Cops are allowed to do what they want with the cameras. And this was the very thing a lot of civil rights organizations and a lot of grassroots organizations were concerned about. Not just the cameras, but about the procedures and the regulations behind the use and the non-use of the cameras. And I'm listening to you read this, and it's showing just blatant irresponsibility and the lack of accountability with the cameras, because obvious police departments operate like organized mafias. That's what it looks like to me. What do you think, Queen?
It appears that way.
They operate like organized mafias. Whenever you get because the video footage is going to work not in the favor of the officer's falsified report, let's withhold this camera. Let's withhold the video footage from the public. In the case of Laquan McDonald, the cop was not charged with murder until after they decided to release a year later. Yeah. A year later. So this cop walked around thinking everything is fine. Well, ain't nothing gonna happen to me. I just murdered another black kid. And who knows how many murders are under this cop's belt. We've already heard last week, listening to John Oliver, we've already heard that cops can purge their records. Yep. They can purge their records. We have already known that for some dumb, ridiculous reason, there's no accountability to no police departments in the U.S. when it comes to how many civilians they kill, how many people they kill,
or even shoot for that factor.
Exactly. Yet, what are our public servants, our public representatives, district representatives? What are they doing about this? What are the politicians doing to protect the people? A government for the people, by the people. What are they doing?
Well, obviously they're lining their pockets with paid off money. My opinion.
You get no argument out of me on that level because they get paid very well.
If they truly cared, they would set up regulations in place on how the body camera should be used to the betterment of the public. They shouldn't be exempt from any type of Freedom of Information Act. The police should not have control over the footage. An independent company should have a control over the footage.
Look, if me and you, Queen, can sit here and verberate on this and see the logic and the illogic in what these departments are doing, what our country is doing in response to this. Come on. You got Obama dealing with foreign affairs and dealing with, corporate interest in foreign affairs every day. When he goes to another country, when he goes to Russia, no matter what, diplomatic issues, but he cannot deal with the issues in his own country? What the hell is he then? The president of what? Oh, he's a corporate president. That's what he looked like to me. He's a corporate president. He represents corporate interests because he does not represent the interests of the people. And and I'll never cease to say that he's a house nigga. I don't even want to blur the definition of the word nigga, but he's a house Negro. Let me put it this way. I'm pretty sure he loves proper English. He's a house Negro. Modern day house Negro, by definition of brother, late great Malcolm X. So on that note, I see somebody in the conference room. Anything you want to say, brother? I see you sitting there, brother. You got something you want? You just listening to what we got going on. You got something you want to verberate on in reference to what we saying?
Yes, I do. We should understand that all this stuff is orchestrated by, as you put it, corporate America. And in order for the people to do anything, they're gonna have to start at the local level, because at the local level is where there's control over the police department. And I think it was you that said one time that it's the local government that regulate and make rules for the police department. And someone said that in Sacramento there have basically no regulation. I mean, and from what you said already, no regulations anywhere else. So the people are going to have to get together at the local level and start from there.
Well, mentioned in Sacramento, I mean, I'm pretty sure you heard about the killing of that brother named what's his name? Joseph. I can't remember his last name. A brother who was just killed just recently. On the Queen, if you can Google that right quick. There was a brother who was shot like 14 times. His family definitely spoke out against the shooting. He was an unarmed brother, and as a result of that, they had a council meeting. It was a public council meeting in Sacramento, which was open to the public, and believe me, it was packed. So the public, the neighborhood came out to the council, and it was about police accountability. It was about them making changes, and you know what? At one point, the whole council walked out of the room because basically, and I mean, I wish the news would have played more of it. I wish it was very obvious, even though what cracked me up, these council meetings, a lot of them are, even if they're open to the public, they won't make them open to being videoed or recorded so that people can see it. I mean, personally, they should make a law where all council meetings, especially if not those who are held, because they do hold a lot of council meetings in secret, just where it's just council members. But specifically, especially if they're going to make it open to the public, it should be recorded, it should be televised. So those who cannot come can at least see and hear what's going on. And the news did catch a part of just a very small snippet of what was being said. One council member was making a statement about community and police people working together, and I'm sitting there thinking, and I'm pretty sure the people in the room, the community in the room said, "Look, we've heard this crap over and over again." The police, and it's because police officers are not trying to work with community organizers, let alone the community itself. I know this for a fact. I used to be a part of a neighborhood organization called STAND, Sacramento Taking Action for Neighborhood Dignity, which we were a part of a larger organization called Center for Third World Organizing. And we tried to work with the Sacramento Police Department. They did not want to work with us. They did not want to work. They don't want to. These fools are literally like an organized mafia. They have no accountability to the public, very little accountability to politicians, and politicians hold them they practically no accountability, because if that was, and believe me, our policy makers, our district councilmen see what these police officers are doing. But what do they do about it? So, in a sense, you're right.
They're not doing anything.
Well, but exactly. So my point is that if they see what's going on, why aren't they doing anything? Now, you might say, or somebody else might say, well, they're waiting for the community or the public to say something. Well, when the public does say something, that's all it is the public is saying something, but I still don't see the district council people doing a damn thing, because it appears to me that it's all about money. Ain't a damn thing funny. Basically, we got to put our own representative in office. That's what it sounds like to me. And that's
Go ahead. Excuse me. That's why, I've never really was really interested in politics, but since these shootings been happening, and we have we know from the top office they're not doing nothing. And when I understood that the all the power as far as for the police force is in the local government, I'm gonna start getting interested in what's going on in local politics. And I believe that's what we need to do, and make sure we get somebody in there who is for us, not just saying that they're for us, for the people, and once they get in there, they turn it back. We have to get somebody in there that we know is going to be for the people.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. I also believe that, definitely have to be somebody at the top that needs to turn some keys and make some regulated decisions, because whenever you got cops afraid of cops, remember last week's show, I played an excerpt of a video of a cop who basically reported his other fellow officers who were using unnecessary force. And as a result, they basically pushed him off the police force, taunted him, even putting a dead rat on his police cruiser. And also putting him in situations without backup. And when he would call for backup, he couldn't get backup. So, like I said, these cops act like an organized gang. They act like an organized mafia with no accountability.
Well, it is.
Well, see, in that situation, in a situation like if they do that to a fellow officer, what won't they do to the public? What won't they do to the populace? I've already heard of organizers being bumped off, and then of course the press and police officers, we don't know who did it. Like in a situation with a brother who organized Black Lives Matter in Ferguson. That brother ended up in a car with a bullet to the head. I mean, that straight sound like an organized hit. You feel me?
Yeah, put that in.
Exactly. I mean, there's another guy who was just killed just recently in his house who said he knew he was going to be killed. I believe he was an activist in Oregon, I believe. I'm not sure. But this guy was dealing with the police department and dealing with police accountability. Like I say, these guys, what a lot of people don't talk about is that these guys who work in these police departments, who work on the police force, a lot of these officers are military. They come straight from the military and go straight into position at police departments. So they've been trained to be killers, trained to be assassins and murderers by our military. And they take position and then they turn around. And I personally believe that the administrative head of departments already know this. They already know this. They're recruiting. Now somebody say, well, recruiting our military, that's not recruiting assassins. Well, they've been trained to be killers. So they come out and obviously, within the academy itself, they train the officers to be afraid of the public. So they come from the military. A lot of them come from doing tours in Afghanistan and Iraq and so forth. So they come back already with PTS, post-traumatic stress syndrome, and then they turn around and join police department after coming out of the academy, and the academy teaching them to be afraid of the public. And see, it explains why these officers are just randomly killing unarmed black people, not white people, but specifically the children of the indigenous people here in America. So, we've been doing all the talking. Queen, you got something you want to say about what we're talking about, Queen?
Well, I was going to say that I had found that article that you, an article mentioning about the young man who was shot.
Go ahead.
14 times. Well, the reason for the flat over it was the officers reported in their own car as stating that they were going to run him over first. And they said, go ahead. So he avoided being hit by the car, and that's when they shot him 14 times.
Wow.
Why were they going to run him over with the car?
Because they wanted to.
He hadn't done anything?
He was just out there doing karate moves, practicing with his knife, and which bothered some people. And he was just, without being spoken to or nothing, they shot him.
Well, it was said that
they said that the young man was mentally unstable and homeless. But that didn't prevent them. They were caught on their dash cam in their car discussing hitting him with their car first.
Wow. Exactly. I mean, and that's another thing. Cops are constantly caught.
That's premeditated.
Well,
yes,
exactly,
it was.
Exactly.
That's why they were calling for murder charges on these two officers.
Cops are constantly caught.
Yeah, that's premeditated.
On their cam. I mean, on their walkie-talkies or on their phones. They're constantly being caught making racist statements, saying misogynistic things, and like you say, even from this, just listening to what was said about them talking about running him down, that sounds like you say, premeditated. I mean, yet these officers...
It don't sound like it is.
Yeah,
it doesn't sound like it is.
It says the officers can be heard on the recording saying, "I'm going to hit him," and okay, go for it. Before appearing to drive their cruiser twice at Mann, the young man's name is Joseph Mann, who managed to scramble out of its way both times. The officers then stopped the cruiser, got out of it, pursued him on foot, and opened fire.
And you know what? The justification for it is that he had a weapon. He didn't have a gun. They say he had a knife.
And he was running away from them.
He wasn't throwing no knife at them. He didn't turn around and throw the knife at him. He was running. They shot the man down in his back. And so, yeah, from what I understand, the Sacramento Police Department are settling with the family. But you know what? It's not over.
Of course. They always settle.
They can't...
Yeah, they think they can give you money and everything will be all right.
Well, the thing about it is this also. They always talk, when it came to the body cams, which the body cams, didn't surprise me that there was no accountability with these body cams. Whenever you got the Department of Justice, who's supposed to be the biggest law in the country, who have no power over police departments other than pulling federal funding. But, I mean... It just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, they cried about where we gonna get the money from for the cams, but when you look at how much money they dish out each year in settlements, millions, hundreds of millions of dollars,
and they can't afford no cameras. But they can fork out millions in settlement.
Well, yeah, when they talked about the police officers being retrained, where are we going to get the money from? Well, where you get the money from when it comes to settling with these people that you guys be unjustly, unfairly, and wrongfully killing? Because they fork out millions.
Well, that's where they're putting all their money in. It's all their settlements. Instead of having to retrain and educate their officers, and they'd rather fork out settlement payments.
Well, on that note, I got another audio cast that I really want to play before we run out of too much time. This audio cast that I want to play is from the Young Turks. It's very important. It's also showing the lack of accountability, but it's also showing where, when the press and the media get involved and they do their job and show the truth of what police officers are doing wrong, that in some cases make cops rectify and correct their situation and do things in the right way. Which it shouldn't even take that. It should take the fact that they're killing unarmed people, are accidentally killing people, are just outrightly doing outlandish, ridiculous, stupid things, and without thinking about public safety. That should be what should rectify things. Shouldn't take the pressure from the media. But in the cases like this, when you got rampant, crazy police departments with rampant, rabid, crazy assassin cops killing people, then, it does take the pressure from the media, I guess. So on that note, let me play this audio cast and we shall continue our vibration on Crooked Cops, Black Ops, and Police Brutality, a badge of honor without accountability. And this is the Black Village Community Podcast. It doesn't cost you a dime. Just through your conscious time, you can always join us here every Sunday live as we do a live show, Pacific Standard Time, from 3 to 4. Doesn't cost you a dime. Just join us at 855-445-9340. You can also chime in at 857-232-0155. And don't forget the conference key to get to the conference. Still to sit at the conference table of truth with us and join us in a conscious discussion, which is 947595. And we shall continue after this.
An Atlantic City police officer says he fears for his life after getting this warning.
There's a hit out on me. And when I inquire,
the officer says that threat comes after he complained about police misconduct to his superiors.
NBC 10's investigative reporter Harry Hairston sat down with the officer to talk about the allegations and this alleged threat. Harry, what's he saying?
Well, Jim, Sergeant Mark Benjamin is suing the department for the discrimination and retaliation. This on-camera interview comes after we've aired a series of reports on allegations of police misconduct. We were first to show you these Atlantic City casino surveillance pictures, which are part of two separate lawsuits. Each suit alleges Atlantic City police use excessive force while arresting unarmed people. By you going on, do you think other officers will come forward? Sergeant Mark Benjamin, a 16-year veteran with Atlantic City Police Department, says he's seen his share of police misconduct.
The technical term may be a whistleblower, but I'm just a good cop and an upstanding citizen reporting misconduct.
In 2012, Benjamin filed his own lawsuit against the department. He claims he's been the target of racial discrimination and retaliation for speaking out. Court documents obtained by the NBC 10 investigators show Benjamin filed a complaint about possible criminal activity by members of the police department.
It was like the masses turned against me.
Benjamin now fears for his life after a friend told him a hit was taken out on him.
When I inquired, what do you mean by a hit? The individual specifically said, "You're being videoed, you better watch your back."
And you took that as what?
I took that as a threat, just as he said it. A hit means a hit.
Benjamin says he first reported the threat to his superiors, but after it was investigated, he was told there was insufficient evidence to support the threat. A top police official tells me he cannot comment on the lawsuit or the alleged threat, but court records show the department denies any wrongdoing. When other officers see this interview, what do you think is going to happen?
They're going to say I went against the blue code. They're going to say I'm a rat.
Benjamin also says on one occasion while he was making an arrest, a canine officer started to release his dog without reason. Jim, Renee?
Harry, there you go. You're good right there. Like I said they like an organized mafia. They put a hit out on another cop for telling the truth on him. Now, so basically, he's a snitch. And you heard him say, because he broke the blue code. Did you hear him, Queen, when he made that statement?
Yeah.
Because he broke the blue code.
Of just ignoring bad police work, ignoring criminal activity by police officers.
Now they want to put a hit out on him. A hit? What they think? Was that the Godfather? Who's the goddamn? Who's the Godfather? Who kissing whose ring? Are they all kissing each other's ring? Now, somebody tell me what's popping, because is it the police union? He's the Don? Who's the Don? What the hell? I mean,
it's ridiculous. It's obvious that they care more about what people see and think of him than actually being good police officers.
No, they don't give a damn about what people see and think. They don't care what people think. The only thing they care about is
what they have that badge that gives them power. These are, individuals who have issues with containing power and having that power and getting drunk with it. They decide that they can do whatever they want and nobody can tell them anything about it. And so, because they are police officers, that makes it worse than in any other, like an actual business or corporation or even schools. I've seen that happen with principals. Get drunk with power. And so they treat their communities, especially those who are already being persecuted and oppressed, like worse than they already are, really worse than they already are, and just so they can get rid of their criminal activities. Whether that criminal activity be murder, dealing drugs, stealing the money from the department, it doesn't matter.
You get no argument out of me of everything you just said. I can agree with. But the thing that I'm tripping off of is that he said they put a hit out on him. A hit. I mean, cops put a hit out on him. Cops. These are supposed to be public servants. These supposed to be guys who took an oath to protect the community. And because he saw his fellow officers using unlawful, unnecessary force, and they obviously didn't want, they had to be a pattern that he saw going on. And even in his own words, he talked about police, the criminal atmosphere, or basically within the department itself. He realized what was going on. I mean, this is really sad, and it's sad that this officer have no place, no person, no procedure or regulations that he can, a protocol that he can take within the department or in our government to protect him. You know, it's just ridiculous, man.
So I was thinking, because we heard about how prosecutors don't want to prosecute the police officers that they work with. Could you imagine if a prosecutor did do something like that? How much more retaliation would he or she get if they're already targeting their own officers for trying to stick up for the law that they say they're supposed to be protecting?
Exactly. But like I said, it also shows the lack and no accountability. No accountability.
There's none.
None. And see, white neighborhoods and white communities and middle-class neighborhoods, well, when I say middle class, I'm talking about white ones. The ones that are predominantly white neighborhoods. They don't have to worry about this. Because officers are not going to vandalize their own neighborhood. They're not going to vandalize the people in their own community. So that's why white communities don't have to deal with the repercussion of what poor black and brown communities have to deal with when it comes to these officers. And yet they want to blame the fact and say, well, it's because of the criminal activity in the neighborhood. It's because of, the high crime in the neighborhood. Well, they're contributing to the goddamn high crime in the neighborhoods. Whenever you got the community who cannot trust your behavior as a professional, they're contributing, and they're actually, my goodness. I don't understand why they can't see the bigger picture. I don't understand why politicians can't see the bigger picture. And I don't think it has anything to do with my understanding. It has everything to do with an agenda. And that agenda is to hurt and to abuse and to use, and also population reduction of the black and brown people. And specifically, when I say black and brown, we, who are the children of the indigenous people of this country. The brown people, Mexicans, Latinos are also children of the indigenous. Black people who are calling themselves African American, you idiot. How you gonna name yourself after two continents? You're not even from one at all. African American. That don't even make any damn sense.
I wish they would take all ethnic references as far as where they're from off of applications, off of documentation other than birth certificates, death certificates.
Well, there's an agenda behind that too. And
I know there is, but it's unnecessary.
And the Census Bureau, which is a part of the federal government, has everything to do with that agenda as well. But, black people need to wake the hell up. I mean, we talk about, and what cracking me up is these educated house Negroes. These educated house Negroes like Louis Gates. These educated house Negroes like Barack Obama. He is an African American, though. He came from a white mama and his daddy is African. He's legit. He can take that label. But those of us who ancestors who is traced all the way up to slavery. And when I say slavery, I ain't talking about 1619, 1620, or 1626 or anything. I'm talking about all the way up into the first time the white man set foot on the shores of North America, starting in 1501. Our ancestors who were enslaved, the indigenous native people who were enslaved, the dark brown, copper-colored people who were enslaved by the Spanish, and then continued that enslavement by the English. We are their descendants. We are true Americans. This is our goddamn country. And then we're being killed and slaughtered, tortured, and played with by white devils. We got to wake up. We got to wake up and realize who we are. Stop allowing religion to tell us who we are. Stop allowing these white devils and these brown devils who are called politicians telling us who we are. Stop allowing the system who follows suit. When I say the system, I'm talking about the school system. I'm talking about the media.
Yeah.
You feel me? Telling us who we are. and those hybrid Indians on reservations who look like white folks. I say hybrids. They know what the hell a hybrid. They should know what that means. Telling us who we are. Because they done made treaties with the white man and got agendas going on with the white man, giving up all the Native American land and on the process making money in the middle. We got to wake up. So, yeah, like Tupac said, speak! I'm going to speak. You feel me? And on that note, I got another audio cast I want to play before we go as well. The first one that I played showing them, that cop, that was not by the Young Turks. That was a mistake there. But this one right here is by the Young Turks. And I want to play this one right here, right quick.
Over the last few years, there have been numerous stories involving the media criticizing some of the tactics that police use in restraining individuals. Now there is an update in Los Angeles in response to some of the negative news reports about them. Now, NPR apparently did an investigative report into local police in Los Angeles shooting at vehicles. And they tried to figure out whether or not it was a smart idea to do so and whether or not cops should be trained to do so. So the results are awesome. Let me tell you what their investigation found and what the response was from the police. So NPR member station KPCC in Pasadena has been tracking the use of force by sheriff's deputies as part of an ongoing investigative series called Officer Involved. It found almost every driver or passenger shot by deputies was actually unarmed.
Jesus.
So the Los Angeles Police Department, which serves the city of Los Angeles, obviously, has cracked down on the practice by virtually eliminating the shooting at moving cars with unarmed occupants from 2010 to 2014. So the LAPD had realized maybe this isn't the right way to go about things, because if you're shooting at someone who is driving a vehicle, well then let's say you shoot and kill that person, then all of a sudden you have an unmanned 3,000-pound vehicle coming your way or going in the direction of something that, could cause a lot of harm.
Such an unbelievably bad idea. But yet, a lot of right-wingers will go, you see, this is how they neutered the cops. They can't even do their jobs anymore. Now they can't even shoot unarmed people in cars, thereby creating, one, killing a person who is unarmed, and two, creating a great lethal danger for others.
Yeah.
That's a great thing that we eliminated that. Almost everyone they shot was unarmed.
Yeah, let me give you the details on that. So the KPCC investigation found that Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputies shot an unarmed passenger or driver in a car at least 8 times during the same 5-year period because they said they feared being run over. Now, the Sheriff's Department is different from the LAPD, okay? So the LAPD decided we're no longer shooting at moving vehicles. This is a bad idea. The Sheriff's Department continued doing it until now. If the driver, the target, is hit, that means an unmanned 3,000-pound vehicle is suddenly tearing down the streets of Los Angeles County. That was a quote from NPR. So in May of 2005, LA Sheriff's deputies unloaded 120 rounds on an unarmed man in a Chevy Tahoe in Compton. Bullets reportedly sprayed 5 neighborhood homes. 1 bullet was found 2 blocks away, lodged in the wall of an elementary school. So obviously this causes more harm than good. And thankfully, the Sheriff's Department realized it, and now they're changing, their policing tactics, and they're also changing what they're being taught in training. So according to the LA County Sheriff's Department, firearms shall not be discharged at a stationary or moving vehicle, the occupants of a vehicle, or the tires of a vehicle unless a person in that vehicle is imminently threatening the department member or another person present with deadly force by means other than the moving vehicle. The last part's really important because the reasoning that cops used to give was, well, that vehicle is a deadly weapon and that's why I shot at it. But
wow. The thing I'm tripping up is this. Shooting. I mean, they shot a car up 100 times. 100 bullets in a car. That was really necessary. I mean, what are they doing? Acting out bad boys action movies that they see on the big screen? What the hell? How does it make sense to shoot at an unarmed person in a car? They not being shot at. I can see if the person in the car is shooting at the police.
So they were having target practice. That's what they were doing.
I don't understand how. I mean, the sheriff's department didn't change their tactics until the media put pressure on them. LAPD decided to change. The question is this. You know what? I'm just curious, and I'm going to have to go do the research. How many people they killed in vehicles behind them shooting at these cars? I'm just curious. I want to know. Because for the LAPD to make a change, and the LAPD don't never make changes, and I'm from Los Angeles, okay? They don't make changes, you know. They were seriously assassins in uniforms. But, like I say, no accountability. I mean, she said a bullet was in a school, in a wall of a school. They sprayed a neighborhood. That means homes got shot up
by police bullets.
But yet, I mean, come on,
nothing else but police bullets.
Yeah, I mean, they like I say, they look and sound like an organized gang.
Now think about it. If an officer got shot, that'd be friendly fire shooting.
And I'm pretty sure that's happened before as well. You know.
Getting carried away there, aren't they?
This goes back to my point. Accountability. Accountability. What kind of accountability? They can go into a neighborhood and spray up a neighborhood and shoot, you know, with the possibility of people in the homes getting shot. And I'm pretty sure some people in the homes have gotten shot, but it's just not being reported or being told. I mean, because, you know, a lot of times media focus on, you know, one thing and they just focus on that and they leave some stuff out because they don't want to demonize the police department, but they do want to tell some of the truth. So on that note, again, the question is, what can we do and what should we be doing? Listen, you know, before we end our show, let's talk about what should and could be done. And I said this before. It's going to take black folks coming together. It's going to take black folks coming together and doing things on a grassroots level, but it's really going to take the women waking up. It's going to take women coming together. You know what? Women do whatever they want to do. If a woman want to get a good job, she go out and get a good job. If a woman want to get educated, she will go out and get educated. If a woman wants to be a mother, a stay-at-home mama, and take care of her kids, and focus in on her children, and make sure her children get a good education, and make sure her kids have a good, positive environment at home, she will do that. If she want to run the streets and let her mama take care of her kids, she'll do that. If she just don't want to be irresponsible altogether, there's women out there that do that. Women predominantly do what they want to do. And you know what? In the process, the system in which we live in supports the women. Supports the women, whatever they want to do. Now, we have a high rate of black women in this country who are getting an education and getting a good education. High rate of black women in this country who are educated and who are graduating from universities. A high rate of black women who are entrepreneurs and career women. But you know what? I don't see a high ratio of black women doing what it takes to secure the community, the black community, to make sure black people are not taken advantage of. I mean, you got Black Lives Matter, which was started and founded by three or four black women who founded Black Lives Matter. But Black Lives Matter at the same time is not doing what it should be doing, in my opinion. It's vocalizing the cry of the black community and calling for police accountability, but as far as organizing the community, as far as rebuilding the black community, as far as re-educating the black community, they're not doing that. And yet Black Lives Matter is getting thousands, if not millions of dollars in donations from many people. What are these broads doing with that money? I'm wondering, really. It's very obvious they're using it in the essence of protesting and organizing protests across the U.S. But other than that, what are they doing with all that money? I personally think it should be called to question. They're a public nonprofit organization. What do you think, Queen?
What are they reinvesting the money in?
And that's the problem with the black community. I mean, I was just watching an old stand-up HBO show by Chris Rock. I think it was titled, the one he did called I'm Not Scared or something like that, you know. And he was talking about how black people are the worst people when it comes to investing our money. We are the worst people on the planet when it comes to wasting money. and not investing our money in where we should invest it. And you know what? You got black people who got money who will say, yeah, but the black people with money are also the worst. They're no different than the poor black person, because you got hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, and you do not invest it in your community. You do not invest it in your people. And then you got random black folks that'll do something. I mean, like James LeBron's invested in the education of black people in his community, I believe in Cleveland, where he's from. Cleveland, you know. But what about LeBron's getting together nationally with the NBA league, with all those black men who's willing to band with him to do something on a national scale to change the landscape of black communities? That's what I'm talking about. Doing something small, that's like a drop in the bucket. It's less than a drop. But what about doing something on a large scale? While LeBron every year make millions of dollars for the owners of the team that he played for. I mean, in that stand-up, Chris Rock said, you know, he said, Shaq make millions of dollars, and he's rich, but the person who signed off Shaq's check when Shaq was playing basketball, he's wealthy. And that's the reason why black people don't have wealth, because we don't invest in our own communities to plan for the future, to create wealth. We don't see an investment in our own people. And that's what we need to do to make a change. On top of the fact that it's going to take our mothers, our women, our sisters, our aunties, our grandmothers, reinvesting back into themselves and taking that investment and investing it back into the children. Principle, love, self-respect, a love for your brother and your sister. So a black man and a black woman can walk up and down the street and smile at each other, say hi to each other, even if they don't know each other, like it was back in the 1950s and the 1960s. That has to come back. What do you have to say, Queen, before we go?
No, I agree. It's going to take more of a community effort with black folks getting together, banding together, not just from the poor communities, but from those who actually have the ends to do something about it. As well as it's going to take some of those people who are striving, those black folks who want that change, to become those politicians, to make a change in the government. Our government is overhauled. Our government has been for the white people, by the white people for way too long.
I totally agree. I totally 100% agree with that. It's going to take, I mean, we got to put our representatives in office. You know, I mean, you got black folks. I mean, I love my son, my oldest son, going to school to get his law degree. I mean, I was just talking to my son just last night who attends the University of Merced, and, you know, who's finishing up getting his BA degree now. And he told me, he said, Pops, I'm not going to stop with that. You know, when he get his BA degree, he's going to work for, I think he told me he's going to work for, I'm not sure if it's the Justice Department or so. He's going to work for a government department. And then he says he's going to continue his education to get his law degree. And I'm like, go ahead. I mean, I might have somebody right there, you know, who's going to represent the community. Because my son, you know, I put as much as I can, and I still, as I talk, I verberate with my son and put as much in my son as possible of what I research and what I know, so that my sons, none of my sons, will be walking puppets of the goddamn system. Because as it stands right now, when I walk out my door, I see a bunch of puppets. My own people are walking slave-minded puppets of the system. Doesn't matter if you're a gang member. Doesn't matter if you grinding and hustling and selling drugs. It doesn't matter if you are on welfare. It doesn't matter if you just living in a box on a corner. If you black and brown and you don't educate yourself, if you black and brown and you refuse to find out who you are, and you let the system define who you are. You let the system define you spiritually, socially, psychologically, and ethnically, then you are a puppet to the system. We have to think for ourselves. Tupac said it. We have to change the way we eat, change the way we live, and change the way we think. And the only way you're going to do that is to educate yourself. So black folks need to wake up. We are the children of the indigenous people of North America. And I'm talking about those, I ain't talking about immigrants from Africa or immigrants from any other country. I'm talking about black folks like myself and I My mom and my daddy's from here. My grandmama and my granddaddy's from here. My great-grandmama and my great-granddaddy's from here. All the way up to my great-great-grandmother. All the way up to the oldest woman, Cherokee woman on a plantation in Shreveport, Louisiana. My great-great-great-great-grandmother. We are the children of the indigenous. You feel me? And we have to wake up to that. We have to research that and find that out for ourselves. Stop letting the white devil tell us who we are. And so on that note, we're going to be heading up out of here. But as I always say, we always will be back. And I'd like to promote me and my queen's online store, Mystic Roots. Please go there. You can buy products that come from the motherland. Please join Mystic. Check out our online store, which is mysticroots.yourafricanmarket.com. Again, that's Mystic Roots, MYSTIK Roots, ROOTZ. .yourafricanmarket.com. Check out our online store. Please purchase there, and every portion of the proceeds go back to the motherland. You feel me? And so, on that note, we gotta go. Any last words, Queen, before we go? You got any last words you want to give to the community before we head up out of here?
My people, stay united, stay strong, and educate yourself.
Well, and I totally agree. We must educate ourselves. We must learn as much as possible. We must not let the system educate us. We must educate us. Our women must educate our children. Our fathers must educate our children. Our uncles, our grandmothers, our grandfathers. We must educate us. And on that note, may the great mother bring us together under the wings of her love. And as always, say love, peace, and chicken grease. I gotta go. We are there. We will be back next Sunday live here at the Black Village Community Podcast. I'm JC, aka Afro Black, and my queen Lala joins as much as possible. Stay back, stay black, and we will be back because we will stay black as well. I'm out of here. We gotta go. Peace.
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm still standing. Never been a trigger man, crack never pedaled that. Opposite a jigger man, double my expectancy, can you believe it? Look, no bullet wounds, not paraplegic. Still standing like the Pledge of Allegiance. Moves made both emotional and strategic. My heart disintegrated in a million pieces. Listen, that's life, deal with it. Press reset, download pain, write a thesis. Perform for millions, Brazilian visas. Got transcontinental indigenous divas that speak multiple languages for unspeakable reasons. And still there are places that I've never been, like the Statue of Liberty, my knees will never bend. Except for when I'm speaking to God, it feels like halftime, I'ma reach for the stars, I'm still standing. Still standing. Change a thing that brought me here today, 'cause it helped me grow, and it helped me know which way to go and which way to not go. And I'm so grateful, yeah, I'm so grateful, 'cause I'm still standing. I'm still standing. I'm still standing.